Tonight I'm going to talk to you guys about a topic that, based on my class survey, only 31% of you regularly pay attention to, and that's politics. Now, the reason why I chose this topic is because what happened in 1776 with the Declaration of Independence, as well as the ratification of the Constitution in 1787, I believe established the best form of government, and I think that's worth preserving. And I also hope by the end of this presentation that each and every one of you guys take an interest in this, because as long as you live in this country, you have a personal stake in the success of government. And so I did a lot of research to support three main American principles that I want you guys to consider each and every time you're at the ballot box before you vote. And those are going to be fiscal responsibility, individual liberty, and free market capitalism. Now, I did a lot of extensive research, spending hours digging through government reports, statistics, to summarize some information that a lot of you guys do not hear in the media because they don't want you to understand the extent of what's going on in this country. So I'm going to give it to you from my perspective, and hope that you consider this information next time you guys are making choices on your elected officials. First, let me ask you, who has a monthly budget? Hopefully everybody, right? Isn't it nice when we have more money coming in than going out? Allows you to save for a rainy day, emergency, or whatever might come up down the road. But what happens if your expenses equal your income? That might put you in a tough situation if you get a blown tire or whatever the case is. But let's take the example, you were spending a substantial amount of money more than what you're actually taking in. And I know we heard a presentation on managing money earlier tonight, Richard, and would you say this is a formula for long-term success? I don't think so. What you're looking at here is the federal budget for 2012 in billions of dollars. Wow. We spent over $1 trillion more than we took in last year. And that was from the Congressional Budget Office Report, 2013 to 2023. As you can see, this is just the beginning of the problem. This is a graph out of the House of Representatives budget proposal from the budget.house.gov, and what it shows is the relationship of debt to the size of the economy. And as you can see, we're entering levels that we've never ever been before, and it's forecasted to only get higher. The current debt level is over $17 trillion. That's also from the Congressional Budget Office report. You can find all this information out at cbo.gov. And $1 trillion is really hard to wrap your mind around. We talk about it, but it's kind of hard to understand. It's actually a million millions. $1 trillion is a million million dollars. To kind of bring it to home. Now, how does that impact you? Well, if we didn't add any more money to the existing debt that we already have, just to pay the interest on that debt over the next 10 years, each individual taxpayer is going to be responsible for $255 per month. Now, if we stay on the current path that we're on for debt accumulation, that can get as high as $424 per month. This is a chart out of the budget proposal from the House of Representatives. And who's got an extra $400 per month in their budget? Per taxpayer? So, upon doing further research, I came across the 2012 report of trustees for Medicare, as well as the 2012 report of trustees for Social Security. And in those reports, digging, because they're hundreds of pages long, I found we have an unfunded liability of $75 trillion. Unfunded means we don't know how we're going to pay for it yet. So these are promises we've made to people, and we have no idea how we're going to pay it yet. They never tell you this number when they're talking about the budget. Any politician, the president, the news, they don't talk about this. They don't want you to understand the extent of what's really going on. But as you can see, spending is obviously the problem. So in the last few years, we've really increased our amount of spending as a relationship to the size of the economy, and that's only forecasted to get even higher than that. What we need to do is prioritize government responsibility versus individual responsibility. Limited government is required for that. We got to make choices on what we're going to be responsible for and what the government should be responsible for. Dwight Eisenhower said, from this quote of constitutionclub.org, that every step we take towards making the state our caretaker of our lives, by that much more we move toward making the state our master. And that's speaking toward limited government. America gives you the opportunity to take care of yourself. And when you need help, you've got your family, you've got your church, you've got your local community for support. Organizations such as Kiwanis. Government will be there as a last resort. Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about the situation with the fiscal responsibility, as you can see, it's important to become more responsible with our finances because it's going to impact all of us in the long run. Let's talk about your individual liberty or individual sovereignty. Let's say, for example, this is you, and the blue is your individual liberty. Government derives its authority only from your consent. Of course, we want the cops to go catch the bad guys, and then we need a court system to bring them to justice and all of that. But the more that we ask the government to do for us, the more liberty we're going to have to surrender for them to take that responsibility on. Eventually, as you can see the relationship here, the bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. That's really important. It begs the question, who owns money? Does the government own money? Who thinks government owns money? Do corporations own it? Or people who earn it? Okay, the fruits of your labor, your wages, your intellectual property, your private property, land, other things that you own are yours. That's yours. Are you paying your fair share? Well, I went to irs.gov and found out that in 2010, this is the most recent data, 12.8% of taxpayers paid 70.54% of the income taxes for the federal government. So Winston Churchill said, you don't make the poor richer by making the rich poor. And that was off of jeffersonreview.com. So now that we've talked about your individual liberty, let's get into free market capitalism. Merriam-Webster's simply defines this as a way of organizing an economy so that the things that are used to make and transport products are owned by individual people and companies rather than by the government. So who's better qualified to invest your money? Temporary politicians or yourself? That's really the bigger picture that we're talking about here. Upon doing some research to answer this question, came across an interview on YouTube with the late, great Milton Friedman. He was being asked capitalism versus socialism and why. And he said that the world runs on individuals pursuing their separate interests, and the great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. And he went on to cite Albert Einstein didn't construct his theories underneath the order of a bureaucrat. And Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automotive industry that way either. So in review, fiscal responsibility ensures long-term stability of the country. Individual liberty promotes a free society. And free market capitalism promotes a prosperous economy. Now, I want to give a little story here because I interviewed my wife. She got her citizenship last year. She earned it after being in the country for 10 years. And so last election was the first time she got to vote. And she was really excited for that opportunity. She feels that being a citizen is it's your responsibility to vote and participate in government. And she was a little upset that I canceled her vote for president. But I want to encourage you guys all to participate because the country is facing hard times right now, but we have even harder decisions to make in the future. Congress needs your opinion. So you need to let them know how you feel because if you don't govern yourself, who will? So next time you're at the ballot box, I want you to consider these core American principles when you're voting. And become politically involved, because as long as you live in this country, you have a stake in the success of government. And let's keep America strong for future generations. Thank you.